For several decades, scientists and astronomers have predicted that a Doomsday asteroid will plot a course for Earth. Knowing that geological records boast about 200 globally distributed impact craters, astronomers warn that it is just a matter of time before ground zero arrives again. Since their discovery, we have had close calls or near misses, some of which were mistakenly observed after passing. NASA classifies these planet smashers as Earth-crossing or near-Earth objects. The following is a controversial narrative that addresses some of the end-time predictions given as Trumpets 1 through 4, Revelation 8, 7 through 12, and the possible idea that they mark the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Could these 4 trumpet calamities be the dreaded asteroid impact that scientists have been predicting? Unlike anything you have ever read, this thought-provoking analysis provides readers with new perspectives and a contemporary understanding of the prophetic visions surrounding these 4 trumpets and their potential implications for an apocalyptic future. Whether you are a religious scholar or simply curious about what lies ahead for humanity, you may find this proposal enlightening as well as empowering. The Holocaust or Great Tribulation unleashes a global disaster that heralds its destructive forces on the land, sea and trees as outlined below. Trumpet 1, Revelation 8, 7. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down upon the earth. 1/3 of the earth was burned up, 1/3 of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. Trumpet 2. Revelation 8, 8 and 9. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. 1/3 of the sea turned into blood, 1/3 of the living creatures in the sea died, and 1/3 of the ships were destroyed. Trumpet 3. Revelation 8, 10 and 11. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on 1/3 of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. 1/3 of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. Trumpet 4. Revelation 8:12. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and 1/3 of the sun was struck, 1/3 of the moon, and 1/3 of the stars, so that 1/3 of them turned dark. 1/3 of the day was without light, and also 1/3 of the night. Even though the first 4 trumpets are presented as separate sequential calamities, the overlapping and continuing aftermath should not be ignored. One important point to note is that their prophetic succession is different from Trumpets 5, 6 and 7, which have a double designation classifying them as the 3 woes. This implies they are significantly worse and independent events in which each one finishes before the next begins. Since the first 4 trumpets do not have this requirement, it seems acceptable and probable that they overlap and integrate as long as their back-to-back sequential order remains unchanged. For example, the first trumpet describes fiery hail that burns up 1/3 of the trees and all of the green grass. The second trumpet is something like a blazing mountain thrown into the sea. Some assume that the fiery hail is caused by a meteoric shower and that the mountain is an asteroid impact, which occurs later. If this is true, then how do you account for the fiery hail that is unleashed when an asteroid clashes with the atmosphere? This means we have another round of burning hail causing fires which burn up additional trees. Plus, when we combine the incinerating impact blast with the tsunamis that rush inland, vegetation is further devastated. Not to be critical, this interpretation appears to deliver a problematic fulfillment, since the second trumpet destroys more trees. By sequentially commingling, there is substantial evidence to validate that these 4 terrors are the offspring of a single asteroid. The subsequent synopsis identifies the cataclysmic tragedies that transpire moments before, during and after a mountain-sized asteroid collides with one of Earth's oceans. This being said, the reader can easily compare and determine whether a single meteoric event provides the criteria needed to accurately fulfill the first 4 trumpets. Predicted as a near miss, a Doomsday mountain-sized asteroid breaches Earth's unprotected atmosphere. As this flaming ballistic missile uncloaks, terror-stricken populations panic. Just seconds before impact, this deadly warhead launches billions of pea-sized molten shards while it is hyper-jumping to ground zero. Trailing their maker, these molten shards, or blood-red burning hail, are like ballistic projectiles, ambushing and bombarding a frightened world. Consequently, responding megafires begin fighting a tree-carbonizing battle. During detonation, superheated blast waves incinerate and flatten all coastal shores within the impact zone. Flaming ejecta mixed with steaming ocean water catapult miles into the sky. The subsequent stratospheric firestorm becomes a blinding inferno resembling a star blazing like a torch, or like having another sun. As the Earth rotates, daytime appears to have two suns, while nighttime has the brightness of one. Some believe the Wormwood Star is another asteroid or a comet. Since it only attacks rivers and underground springs, it doesn't seem likely. And if it were a star like our Sun, then total planet annihilation would unquestionably be the outcome. So, what star-like weapon performs airstrikes targeting only rivers and springs and then transforms them into pandemic killers? Could this mysterious Wormwood Star be the pyroclastic ejector outshining the Sun? This idea becomes plausible when this molten corona condenses into a flesh-blistering downpour of acid rain. Like a giant mining operation using acid to separate metals, this reactive rogue pursues harmless inert minerals in the soil. Once segregated, toxic elements like arsenic, copper, lead, mercury and the like are now deadly when intermingled with drinking water taken from rivers, lakes, and underground springs. For those who may not know, water with high concentrations of isolated minerals may not always look polluted or taste bad. Because of this, many die from drinking the Wormwood Star's mouth-watering cocktail. In addition, mega tsunamis hammer coastlines, wrecking thousands of cargo, military and other sea vessels. This marching band of unrelenting monster waves trumpet miles inland. As they play their songs of victory, towering walls of seawater squeeze hands with the Wormwood Star's horrific carnage. Allegedly, salt and acid rain are famous for killing plants and trees. So, is the Queen of Atlantis responsible for replacing the salt water in her ocean with blood? Unfortunately, she cannot dissuade Ground Zero from kicking the sleeping red dragon that is snuggling contently at her feet. Once awakened or activated by the rising water temperature, this flesh-eating slayer quickly blooms into a bloody war against innocent sea life. While fed by an almost endless supply of meteoric iron, this red tide dragon steals life-giving oxygen from the seawater. Sadly and hauntingly, the Queen's ocean floor becomes a graveyard for its suffocating residents. Then, instead of wizardry fire, this blood-red dragon snorts its neurotoxic breath onto devastated coastal cities. Unprepared for chemical warfare, survivors are gasping for air. Note, without a microscope, red tide looks and coagulates like blood. So why give a symbolic interpretation or use human blood when a perfect substitute is already present and waiting to serve? While the aftermath violently advances, the torrid fallout coalesces with the sun-blocking clouds of smoke. This dark night's shield soon eclipses the sun, moon and stars as it gravitates toward and around the equator. Soon after, this earth-darkening reaper swings a freezing blow to the struggling vegetation. Food supplies soon become an almost unobtainable luxury. This cosmic crisis continues as Ground Zero's tectonic shockwaves launch an alpha strike at the volcanic ring of fire. After being rudely awakened, these smoking guns retaliate and shoot their explosive rounds of burning hail, acid rain and clouds of smoke. While the Ring of Fire adds to Ground Zero's genocide, mantle-cutting subductions assault vulnerable metropolitan communities and sheer municipal water and septic systems. The subsequent sangria soon befriends the augmenting wormwood concoction. Concurrently, gas lines rupture and add explosive fuel to an unstoppable flame-throwing predator. Nature's disrupted environment causes animals, reptiles and insects to become deadly enemies. In desperation, many survivors pray for mercy and ask, "Where is God?" Perhaps this apocalypse is a precursor to a false second coming or alien invasion. So, does one asteroid impact provide the criteria needed for fulfilling these 4 trumpet prophecies? The numerous similarities are excellent arguments. Hopefully this presentation has enhanced your knowledge and increased your chances of escaping Wormwood's deadly water. Imagine how many could survive this prophetic disaster if people believed and had a protected source of drinking water.